Yeah. So, okay. So without much ado, we're going to come back to our M2, men's M2 finisher, Alex Nichols. Welcome into
Welcome,
the studio,
Alex.
Alex. I'm going to look up your time here because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's very impressive. Wow, 21:06. Stellar performance. And I heard you had surgery in December. Is that true?
Yeah, this is kind of the first race back.
Wow, very impressive.
Yeah, I had an Achilles thing that was bothering me for a number of years, really,
Yeah.
and felt like something I just really needed to get taken care of finally. And
Mm-hmm.
then this was a race that was kind of always on my radar. Um,
Yeah.
and then it all just kind of happened,
So you
and
think you were able to kind of get back to where you wanted to be, or was it a bit of a rush in that time period? Because it sounds quite tight. The
yeah,
Achilles
yeah, it was
surgery.
definitely a
Yeah,
little bit of a rush.
yeah,
I wasn't really training
yeah,
until probably early May. So I basically just had 12 weeks of like really dedicated training
yeah.
for this
Training.
race.
So
Yep.
did this injury break your Pikes Peak monthly streak?
No, it did not
Wow.
actually.
Oh my goodness. Okay. He's
Amazing.
hobbling up there with an Achilles injury.
Yeah,
Yes.
Don't
it
do this at
wasn't
home, kids.
maybe not the most advised thing to do, but I had surgery early December, was
Okay.
able to do Pikes Peak just before that,
Okay.
and then late January, it was about a 9-week turnaround.
So for those that don't
Committed
know,
to the cause.
Alex has been running up Pikes Peak every month for how long now?
I think it's about 6.5 years.
6.5 years.
Yeah.
Every month up Pikes Peak,
And
Yeah.
before we
no matter the
really,
weather.
before we turn away
Yeah.
from Pikes Peak and back
Wow.
to High Lonesome, tell us just a little bit about sort of what drew you to do that, what keeps you on that streak, and why do you find value in it?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I kind of thought about it was a year when it was November and I realized I had not gone up Pikes Peak once that year. And I
Yep.
was like,
Wow.
this is kind of weird. I live right at the base of Pikes Peak. I should be going up there. This is so unique that we have a giant mountain in our backyard,
Yep.
and just living where we are. And so then me and a friend, Brandon Stepanowicz,
Yep.
decided we'd try to go for a year, try to make it up every month. Did that. That turned into 2 years and then just kind of spiraled from there. But it's really just about, yeah, taking advantage of where I
Mm-hmm.
live. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go halfway around the world to have like a huge adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you have a
certainly.
long history in this sport, Alex. I think going back to 2009 or something. Did you not pace Tony at Leadville or something one
Yeah,
year
yeah.
back then, right?
Yeah, I think that was
A long time ago.
2007 was like,
Okay,
yeah, the
Wow.
wow.
first year
Even
he
longer.
won
Wow.
Leadville. Yeah,
Okay.
we were
And
out
you've
there.
since done, you've run Western States 4 times, has it? You've
Yep.
been second, I think, and podiumed,
Yeah.
top 10 at least 2 other times. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah, four
really,
times. Yep.
really impressive
Yep.
resume. But
Yeah.
would you consider this one of the main, the bigger mountain races that you've done, or what else is up there with your
Yeah, I mean, I
resume?
was thinking about that. I've never really done a true mountain
Yeah.
100, and it really running this in comparison to Western States, it's a very, very
Yeah,
different
right.
race.
Different
Yeah.
race. Yeah.
Yes.
I've done shorter mountain races, like
Yeah.
50-mile, things like that, with
Yeah.
really significant elevation change,
Yep.
Yeah.
and those have always gone really well for me, and so this seemed like a really good
Yeah.
race. Yeah.
What made you want to do it in the first place?
It's also that sort of sense of here's this race, it's only 2 hours from my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go do something like that, especially with the race organization being as great
Yeah.
as it is and
Yeah.
Yeah,
everything.
it looks like you've done most of the classics around Colorado. I was looking through your results. It's like every kind of tick list of an event you might want to do in Colorado, you seem to have done.
Right, yeah, and there aren't too many races at this point that I
Yeah,
feel like I really need to do, and
Yep.
yeah,
so having a race nearby that was so amazing, it
yeah,
just like I needed to go do it.
And you did it with aplomb.
yeah. It looks like
So
you
what?
kind of started out pretty kind of reserved almost. I was kind of you looked very cool, calm, and collected coming into Cottonwood at least.
Yeah,
It's an easy place to get flustered. It's hot. You've just done a big downhill.
yeah.
Like, how did you approach that kind of early part of the race?
Yeah, I was really just having a lot of fun. Kind of connected with Chris
Hmm.
at St. Elmo #1,
Yeah,
and we were just sort of catching up, or I had never actually met him before,
yeah.
so kind of
Chit
meeting
chatting
each
as you
other.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Getting to know one
Um,
another.
yeah, and just really enjoying that section. The trail there
yeah.
up and over
Beautiful.
Laws
Hey?
Pass was really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
And yeah, just kind of doing my thing, trying to consider the fact that this is a 21-hour race, like
yeah,
fingers crossed, and
Yep.
I'm only 3 or 4 hours into it,
yeah,
so just trying to relax and
yeah,
yeah, look around, enjoy the scenery.
Yep.
yeah.
And talk us about sort of that next portion once you come back over Laws Pass for that second time and head up to Chincup to that divide section. How was that feeling for you?
Yeah, it was really good. I kind of separated from Chris
Yep.
just in the aid station.
Mm-hmm.
Considered waiting for him because I honestly didn't want to be running by myself for the
Yeah.
rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I just thought, oh, he'd catch up to me on the climb because he was
Yeah.
hiking really fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
That didn't really end up happening, so found myself alone going
Yeah.
into Tin
Yeah.
Cup.
And you're in the lead at that point.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at that point, stomach went south. Had a
Oh.
little bit of a puking break for a bit.
Oh,
Mhm.
puke and
Um,
Beautiful
rally.
place to puke, but
Yeah, which then was a little concerning because
Yeah.
that's only mile
It's
40.
pretty
yeah,
early,
you got a
right?
ways
Yeah.
to go, and you're gonna be
Yeah,
high for a while still.
right.
Yep.
So just tried to kind of figure out what I could
Stay
eat,
cool.
Yep.
what I could do.
Yeah.
But
Problem
that
solved.
section from 40 to 50, that high alpine area was
Yeah.
very, very difficult just
Yep.
being low on calories and
Yeah.
being high altitude, even though it was so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the
Yeah.
best parts of the
It's
course.
a second
But
part of the course.
But it's
yeah.
a hard part.
yeah, very
yeah, for
difficult
sure.
part.
Deceptively difficult.
hmm
And then you came into Hancock, obviously, which is sort of a bit, a magical circus, but a circus, a lot going on there. How are you feeling once you got into Hancock? Still rough?
Yeah, still
Okay.
pretty rough, but at that point was able to kind of connect with the crew, figure out what I could take with me.
Mm-hmm.
Did a little bit more walking out of that aid station than
Did
I
you
would have
take a
done.
pacer
Yep.
there?
I did, yep,
Okay.
yeah. So that was helpful too, just like the mental boost of having
Yeah.
someone
Sure.
with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking that Chris was gonna come flying by me, but
No.
we just sort of kept the same gap
About
for
a
a
little,
while.
yeah,
Yeah.
fixed period for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, kudos to him. I think he was just being really smart and
Yeah.
Yeah.
knowing that he could do a lot of damage in the last part of the race and just waiting for that to happen. Whereas
Yeah.
I was kind of getting excited. Like, I like the steeper stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was still feeling really good at that point. So I probably pushed a little too hard through there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, the descent off of Monarch can do a little bit of damage there. That 7 miles, you
Yeah.
kind of feel like you're flying,
Yeah.
loving life, and you get to Fuses, and your whole world
Reality
changes.
sets in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a tough point. Was that a particularly tough moment then, leaving Fuses? Were you kind of struggling a little bit, or was
Yeah.
things still looking up?
So at that point, I was feeling really good.
Okay.
And
Nice.
I said to my pacer, like, okay, we're going to push this section because
Yep.
Chris was 10 minutes back at
Yeah.
Monarch.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, if we push this section, I gain 5 minutes on him, then I think I can win because, like, that's showing that maybe he's not feeling great.
Yep.
So I pushed pretty hard.
Yeah.
And then he brought back 5 minutes on me. So
Wow.
it's like,
Wow. Okay. The
Pretty-
game's on.
Yes,
yeah. So at
totally.
that point, I kind of had a feeling of what was coming for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then the lead changed around 85 again, like Blank's cabin area. Was that right?
Yeah.
that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
basically caught me at Monarch, but
Okay.
then, yeah, once we went through Blanks, I kind of took a wrong turn and then he
Ah.
was out of the aid station.
And then
but-
the elastic snapped, and
Yeah.
you're on your own
and-
again.
Yeah.
And
And did
honest-
you have an exchange with him?
Oh yeah,
did you-
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was happy for him. Like
Yeah.
again, I kind of knew what was gonna happen
Yes.
there.
Yeah,
so-
you had a
Accelerating
sense of it.
along.
yeah, I wasn't gonna try to fight back for 25 more miles.
Yes.
How did that end bit go then? Once you kind of knew you maybe couldn't catch back up, is it tough to kind of stay positive and motivated, or are you just doing your thing?
No, I mean, for me, the motivation of this race was less about the results and
Yeah.
more of just getting back out there.
Yeah. Just
and so-
finishing something with a good kind of
Yeah,
attitude and
yep.
well executed.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and just having fun with it and
Yeah.
feeling like
Yeah.
that was the best race I could have run. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, stayed motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been in the sport obviously for a long time. You've been at the sort of sharp end of a sport for a long time. I'm just curious what you think differentiates you as a runner, as a competitor, kind of who are you as a runner and a competitor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've kind of gone through different phases where I got into the sport as a short distance uphill mountain runner, like
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
Yep.
make the world championships in the 12K and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Look at you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I
Yeah.
Threw that out quite a ways.
back
yeah.
then, I told people all the time I would never run 100 miles because
Yeah.
I wanted
Yep.
to be racing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then that sort of transitioned into sky running, and I did that for a number of years, and then
hmm
ultimately realized that you could be racing for 100 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's certainly evolved, and we're seeing it more
Mhm.
and more every year that goes by. You know, the gaps are getting tighter, the depth is getting bigger.
Yeah.
You know, it's harder to kind of execute, even if you're having a good day, and finish in that kind of top end of the field.
Yeah, and I think that's just the change in the sport, and it's
Yeah.
exciting that it's getting
Absolutely.
more competitive, deeper.
Yeah.
It just makes everyone push harder.
And will you still consider yourself a kind of a runner's runner? Are you doing kind of shorter stuff still, up to 100 miles? Like, what excites you? What are you going to be doing in the future?
Yeah, I think really just trying new things, different
Mhm.
races that I haven't done before. I
Yep.
mean, the departure in 2018, I did Nolan's 14.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. Yeah.
That's something I never had considered until that point,
Yep.
and that's like steep hiking
That's
and
way out there.
overnight,
Hey.
and
Yep.
yeah, so things like that, just
Things that are
mix it
difficult to
up.
do. Yeah, that
Yeah.
scare
Yeah,
you sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
why
Exactly.
not?
Common denominator hard.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
yeah, just challenging yourself and
Yeah.
getting the most out of it.
yeah. And you,
Anything in particular in your sights right now that you're focused on, interested in, kind of looking forward?
Honestly, no.
Like my bad.
Resting.
Yeah.
No, I really
Yeah.
had this on the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanted to see how it would go, and
Yeah.
then I have not signed up for anything, but
Hmm.
now, yeah, it kind of gets me more excited about the future.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
You've raced a bunch internationally as well, Alex, right? So,
Mhm.
like, how does like a race like High Lonesome here? It kind of has that kind of homely feel to some extent. Like, how does it differ? What's your kind of preference? Do you like the big kind of, you know, lights and kind of camera action of the kind of Euro races, or where's your kind of
Yeah,
where you see yourself?
I mean, even within the races I've done in Europe, there is kind of a wide range. This
Yeah.
this actually reminds me a lot of this race called Le Templier in
Le
France.
Templier, yeah,
That's
classic.
yeah,
Mhm.
a really historic race,
Yeah.
just really good race organization. It feels like a big family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
a good
that's
analogy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
follow
it's
that.
not exactly like the UTMB thing,
No,
but
no. Yeah,
yeah, I think yeah, that's a really good comparison.
yeah. It
Yeah.
seems to be where the kind of races you sign up, it seems to tick those kind of boxes. Yeah,
Yeah, for
good
sure.
kind of good routes to the race and good vibe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and this I've been so impressed by everything here. Just
yeah,
Caleb, from the detail of race manuals,
Yup.
race videos, all of that stuff.
Yes.
It's like
It's amazing.
it's super top notch.
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, shout out to the volunteers again. I think
Yeah.
this is one
Mhm.
of those races that has a particularly, animated set of aid stations,
Yeah.
right?
And
It was
Yeah.
committed
kind of fun.
volunteer base.
Yeah, what was your favorite aid station out there?
Um,
And it
oh
might
man,
depend how you felt
no,
at the
no,
time.
no, actually, yeah. So Hancock was pretty funny coming in with
Yeah.
like the alien
Oh,
blow up
yes.
Oh, the
costumes.
alien
Yes.
theme,
Yeah,
yes.
I was feeling really bad, and I was just like, "What is happening right now?" But yeah, yeah, all the volunteers, even just how efficient people were.
Yeah,
Yes.
That was like probably the fastest I've been able to get bottles filled, and
Yeah.
Yes.
they would
Yeah.
do it
they're
all
dialed.
for me, and it just felt like I was being waited on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very experienced volunteer base, both in terms of,
Yeah.
people who are repeatedly volunteering, but also people who are used to running
Yeah.
their own 100-miler, so they know
Yeah.
what you need.
I think it's a
Yeah.
reflection on the kind of the scene in Colorado
For
and
sure.
the health of the kind of the racing and just running scene here. Like, like Rachel was saying, everyone here has kind of participated, run, crewed, or so,
Yep.
and you really see that, and I
Yeah.
think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I bumped into multiple people I've raced against
Yeah.
or know
Yep.
just through running
Sure.
circles,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
just seeing them randomly in the dark at an aid station.
Yep.
Like, oh, hey, it's Noah. Oh, hey, we raced a 50K like 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, great, fill my bottle.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Any
Excellent.
particularly memorable moments, the good, the bad, the ugly, from the day that you think will stay with you?
Yeah, I mean, having the crew that I did was really
Mhm.
special. A couple of the student athletes that just graduated from Colorado College where I work,
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
they
Yeah.
paced me, so that was really fun, and just like coming in as a team
Mhm.
together,
That's amazing.
Are
that
any of
was
them
really special.
interested in this kind of particular trajectory? Is
Maybe,
it rubbing off a
yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving them the exposure, and then
Yeah,
it's up
sure.
to them to decide what they want to
Absolutely.
do.
Alex raising up the next
Yeah.
generation
Yep.
of 100-milers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think, like I said before, that section between mile 40 and 50, that's going to be super memorable, even though it's difficult just
Yeah.
being out
Then-
there. And
yeah.
that's something I would love to go back and just run as a training run or backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Alex, thank you for coming
Congratulations.
into the studio. Congratulations again. And I think really a really well executed race. Fantastic time. And seems like you had a good day out there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Cheers. Alrighty. Just rolling up in the 34-hour mark.